of the night is the Rising Star Award, which honors a young individual in the ag industry who demonstrates a commitment to community involvement with a dedication to enhance agriculture. Would you please help me welcome to the stage Bill Shibley to tell us a little bit about the 2025 Washington Trust Bank Rising Star inductee, James Alford.
Good evening, everybody. I'm honored to introduce James Alford, the inductee for the Rising Star. I've known Jimmy since he was running around the Alford Farms office there on the backside of the Farm Credit office. We shared an office there. Even 30 years ago, just looking at him, you could tell as a little guy he had a fire in his eye and a kind of a mischievous grin, and you just knew that he was going places. Oftentimes there were drawings on the whiteboard in the conference room. We had a shared conference room between two offices, not of teddy bears or things like that, but of interesting mechanical items, mostly related to something he was thinking about with his dad's farm. Through the years, I'm sure I bought more than one of his fair hogs, which undoubtedly he parlayed into some future venture. As he grew, before long, I noticed the change from Jimmy to James, which prompted me to ask if I was grandfathered in to calling him Jimmy, and of course he granted that. Brian and Brenda didn't push James into farming, and if anything, they weren't sure about him going into farming. They made sure he spent plenty of time hand weeding potato field edges as a youngster, so he had a real appreciation for what it took. But by 14, he was riding out with the Alford Farms employees and working side by side with them all day long. Brenda really wanted James to go to college, but James was in a hurry to get on with life, and I think he figured if he transferred from Tri-City Prep to Pasco High and did running start at CBC, that would fulfill her desire for him going to college. Is that right, Brenda? Close enough. Yep. His senior project at Pasco High, building a biodiesel reactor, probably started out somewhere on that whiteboard in the conference room back at our shared office. James didn't want to ride on his family's coattails, but he wanted to start farming as quickly as he could. With a beginning farm loan from Farm Credit and FSA, he raised his first crop of potatoes for Simplot the year after he graduated from the Running Start program with an associate's degree, all while continuing to work for Alford Farms. Along the way, he built a seed cutting business, custom spraying operation, owned a produce stand, continued to grow his farm operation. And then 2 years ago, he took the largest expansion of his young career with the purchase of Three Rivers Potatoes. But the Rising Star isn't just about how much you're farming or how large your business ventures are. It's also about your community service and giving back to the Columbia Basin. James is a man of faith and very active in his church, St. Paul's in Utopia, serving the community through the Knights of Columbus. He's also very active in Franklin County Farm Bureau. James has been instrumental in its continued growth, serving as its president for the last 10 years. This has allowed him to gain a broader picture of agriculture's role in our state and nation's economy. He's helped grow the Farmer for the Day program, bringing in state representatives, not only from both sides of the state, but from both sides of the political spectrum to Franklin County, giving a face and story to Columbia Basin agriculture. While James has much to be proud of with his professional achievements, I can safely say that he's most proud of his family here tonight. Having known James and his family going back to his grandpa Clayton, a previous inductee into the Ag Hall of Fame, and seeing all his contributions to Columbia Basin agriculture, I know that this is just the start for James, and he will continue to positively impact and grow our little slice of heaven.
My name is James Alford. I'm a potato farmer, amongst other things. We have plenty of other businesses. I'm also the president of the Franklin County Farm Bureau and a third generation Washington State farmer. Sometimes I can't even remember all of the LLCs or all the businesses that we do have, but over time we would try different things, and if they worked, we would stick with it. And if it didn't work, then we wouldn't stick with it. Same goes with the Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau is about representing farmers. It's power in numbers. and I'm happy to be able to be in that leadership role. It's about understanding the other side, whether we want to make this the east side versus the west side of the state, urban versus rural, whether we want to make it Republican versus Democrat. What I learned in my time in Farm Bureau was that we're not going to use any of those types of labels. We're just going to build relationships. We're going to have a barbecue. We're going to invite people over. We're going to one-on-one. We're going to go out. We're going to go look at the farm. We're going to talk about the issues we have. Stewardship and sustainability go deeper than just natural resources. We have employees. And so one of the things that I like to share with them, and it's rooted in agriculture, is that notice how nature never hurries, yet everything is accomplished. When I started out, I was just like, work hard, keep your head down, and figure out what you like and figure out where you're gonna go. And my goal was always like, someday I'll be successful. And now that I've been doing this long enough, I've come to the realization that striving for a life that is just focused on maybe not having to work as hard, it's not as fulfilling. To stimulate your work ethic, to stimulate your mind, those things are extremely important. Growing up, my grandpa was, and according to other stories that everyone has said, my grandpa was a rock star. He was the ultimate goal in terms of what does a farmer mean, or who is a farmer. And for me to even be in the same consideration in the Ag Hall of Fame, it's not real.
So here to present the 2025 Washington Trust Bank Rising Star Award is Derek Brownson.
I want to make sure I had something written down too, and to be short. On behalf of Washington Trust Bank, the oldest and largest privately held commercial bank in the Pacific Northwest, we are proud for this year's Ag Hall of Fame Rising Star Award to James Alford. Congratulations.
Good evening, everyone. And I'd like to start out just saying thank you to Bill. That was a great intro. Between the video and the intro, I have nothing left to say. So I would like to say thank you, and I would like to start out extending my appreciation to the selection committee, the Pasco Chamber of Commerce, as well as all my mentors, neighbors, family, and friends, business partners, all of you that support me, that got me to this moment. And I would like to congratulate the other Ag Hall of Fame inductees for this year. Fun story, when we had our produce stand back in 2020, in-season produce, we got the best corn that we could get from Fred. We got the best asparagus we could get from Bill and his kids. And all the other weird stuff no one else had, we got it from Alan. So, just want to say thank you to all of y'all. My journey to this point started long before I was born. My grandpa Clayton, you might have heard, was inducted into the Ag Hall of Fame in 2001 as a pioneer. He was a rancher, he was a farmer, he was a naval fighter pilot in the Ghost Rider Squadron, shot down in North Korea, survived, moved to Pasco in 1954, same year my father, Brian Alford, was born. He broke our family's homestead out of sagebrush, turned it into the farmland that we know today. And from there, grew the business. Hearing my grandfather's naval stories and coming back home to tame the wild land of the Columbia Basin still amazes me. He had a fearless spirit, and he was willing to take risks for a better future. And those are traits that, thankfully, I believe have been passed down through the generations to me. My father inherited that same drive. We both learned from my grandpa not just how to run a successful farm, but how to be a good neighbor, how to treat our workers, landlords, and customers like their family. We also always found ways to give back to your community in leadership roles. When my father gave me the opportunity to work on the farm over 20 years ago now, I had no idea it would become a lifelong passion. Yet, here I am, a fourth generation Washington farmer in our family, third generation Columbia Basin farmer. I started my own farm back in 2007, and at the same time I was helping run my parents' operation. And being the only sibling out of 5 kids in our family involved in agriculture, I didn't have other siblings to bounce ideas off of. I didn't have other siblings to share all of the work with. But I had an incredible network of mentors made up of neighbors and landlords and bankers and industry professionals, as well as other farmers my age. Their wisdom and patience and guidance are really what made the difference in my career and helping me to navigate something that was new to me. My grandfather's adventurous spirit and my father's business acumen allowed me to kind of go out on my own entrepreneurial path. While my grandpa and my dad took risks in their own ways, whether breaking out new farm ground or plunging into new business relationships, I was able to be fortunate enough to experiment in all of the other things that I found interesting, whether that was new technologies or techniques or new partnerships or some of the ventures we're in right now, whether it's real estate development or turning our potatoes into vodka at a distillery. We're having fun. And I've always felt that same drive generationally to push forward. And I don't know if our children will become farmers or not, but to think that they have the potential to be the 5th generation of Alford's farming in Washington State, it's surreal. About a decade ago, I was fortunate enough to become the president of the Franklin County Farm Bureau. This helped propel my community involvement to a new level. And through that role, I've witnessed how much our region thrives on collaboration. Farmers supporting farmers, neighbors supporting neighbors, and entire communities rallying together around agriculture. Clearly, none of this alone. I'm no exception to that. And I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And unfortunately, due to time constraints, and I want to keep this short, I would like to just thank the following groups. To my family, thank you for this incredible opportunity. The wealth of knowledge and the moral compass you provided me. To my mom, Brenda, and to my dad, Brian, I appreciate the opportunity to farm. I appreciate you showing me how to run a business. I appreciate you showing me how the fields need to look. And I also appreciate you showing me how to take up leadership roles in our local community. To my wife, Karis, and to our children, Clayton, Remington, Delaney, and Cooper, thank you for your unconditional love, for your support, and always being there, even when failures do happen. Thank you. To all of my employees, Chris, talking to you, thank you. There's no way I can keep 10 different companies running without having an awesome crew behind me that helps run this whole rig day in and day out. To my mentors, this is a really big group, but whether you're a neighboring farmer or a landlord, I am going to highlight Dave Manarola. He's the one. He's also an Ag Hall of Fame inductee, but he's the one that got me into Farm Bureau. And being able to have someone that you can call and trust with an unfiltered opinion or advice really made all the difference for me starting out. I needed to be able to have that support. I had that in lots of areas, whether, like I said, it was neighbors or landlords or other family members or family friends, bankers like Bill Shibley or the crew at Northwest Farm Credit that helped me to get my first time loan as a farmer. I would really also like to thank the Teagues family. From a young age, on a very personal level, I was able to work with an industry giant like Frank. I learned more about farming and business in a short amount of time than I ever thought or probably ever wanted to, but it really did shape who I am today. And whether I mention you or not, if we've worked together and we've had a relationship, you've had an impact on me It's your encouragement, your wisdom that made that steep learning curve a lot less daunting, and I thank you for that. To my community, serving as the Farm Bureau president and in being involved in local organizations has really opened my eyes to the tight-knit community we have, and I am eternally grateful for that collaboration and fellowship and support. Here in the Columbia Basin, being able to work with our Farm Bureau board and many of the communities I've been served on have really shaped my perspective on how awesome we do have it here. As I accept this award, I do so with gratitude for the gifts I've received, my family's legacy, the incredible region that we live in that I believe has thrived against all odds, the community that supported me at every turn. I'm humbled to be inducted in the same Hall of Fame where my grandpa had been inducted, and I hope to uphold the same legacy and advance that as well. Thank you all for this recognition. Thank you for believing in agriculture. Thank you for believing in agriculture in the way it unites our community, in the way that we can feed our communities generation after generation. May we continue to dream, work hard, and always remember those that blaze the trail before us. Thank you, and God bless.